with what you're saying, Dave, but the word guns, the guns have been recorded down there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not questioning that, mate. No.
Prove to me that you are alive.
Yeah, that's about it.
Oh man, what is this picture? Operation of Violent Panama.
The person who, the leaseholder, owner of Sophia Nails was someone called Trang Thang Tran. Now, the pronunciation's probably not right, but she was convicted in that operation, crime operation. I think if I remember rightly, there were 15 illegal drug factories and 40 odd factories. And that's just a picture of all the people that got convicted in it.
Holy shit, man. This next video, we've seen it before, right?
I'm not sure.
Why would he go on for 5 years saying that certain things happened, but made no attempt, no effort at all, none whatsoever to step in and save these apparent people from the horrific noises?
So did you find this video on TikTok?
Yeah, that was one of the ones that he put up. That's actually a shortened version of what he put up. I didn't actually see it. A lady sent it to me or sent me the link to it, and she pointed out to me, well, why is it that they're not people, are they? They're children. And she's right. He can't bring himself to say that they're children.
Why is that important?
Well, I don't know about you, but to me, the fact that he tries to hide every point, it's like they're screaming voices of children. They're begging, they're screaming. At one point, they're saying, help me, yet he sees it as people. He's trying to alter the context. He's trying to change the narrative, if you like.
Well, and we also know that in psychology, a lot of the times the criminal, the person that has done something like that, the reason why they won't say some of these keywords is because it brings them back psychologically to that moment where, it might trigger something again, man. So I see why that makes sense. So there's a sorry, go ahead.
I'm just going to say, and that sort of plays in line with how his mental state of mind seems. And I think Melissa picked up on this. It almost seems like he got involved with something he didn't quite realise were to the extent in which it was, and never being able to cope with that afterwards. So he might have been involved in this years ago, 10 years ago, but it's haunted him. So once Alan started releasing what we were releasing, it's brought all these horrific memories up of what he's been involved in and what he knows is actually going there, and that's what set him off under the defensive, because he probably ain't got a good frame and good mental health anyway.
So you think actually for someone like this, he might have a little bit of conscience left that's eating at him?
Yeah, I get that little feeling. Yeah, Melissa mentioned it, and I do agree with her. I do get that myself, but it's almost like he's fighting with his own conscience.
What do you think, Alan?
Yeah, I think there's two sides to his character. I think it's the one side where he's actually genuinely has been in the past a good guy, but he realizes that he's now a bad guy. Maybe he's even got two different characters and they're battling with each other. But
and then
he has he's mental problems.
So basically, it's a guy that was this guy Simon long ago, and then the other character is the mask character, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, could be that. It could be that.
This is so mind-blowing. Yeah, because I remember the last time that we talked and when Melissa was on here, I kind of, for a little bit, I kind of picked up on that too, because it's like, if someone is covering their tracks, they're hiding whatever, like they wouldn't be doing something like this so publicly, right?
Mm.
Doesn't make any sense, does it?
No.
Yeah, like TV licensing. Never had one. Never had one. Never.
So is that the paper where it says eat? I can't even say it, bro.
Yeah.
No, I find it hard, but I'll do it anyway. On the top of that letter, he has actually written, "I eat children."
Let me try to see if I could bring it back. It's right here, man. What? Jesus Christ. See, this is again where it gets like crazy. This is what I want to ask also. Since this is not the first time that we see him writing that. Remember, you showed us last time there was another piece of paper where he wrote, "I eat children," or was that the same one?
No, it would have been the same one. There's only one instance that I've known of. That clip was actually sent to me, and the person who sent it to me, when I first saw it, I thought, no, it just can't be true. But he then went on to say he thought about it for a while because somebody asked him why he'd actually written it, and then he said it was a bizarre protest against the BBC. And to me, that's not a bizarre protest against anything. It's just a bizarre thing to do. Why would you write that? Nobody would write that of the right side of the earth. It doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Why? What is the story with BBC? Why would he say that?
I don't know. What do you think, Dave?
Well, in the UK, I don't think Naz will know this. If you want a TV, you've got to pay a TV license. So, and the TV license guys will come round and check that you've paid your TV license, and if you've not paid it, they can start dishing your fines out on that. So, a lot of people sort of fight them and don't pay it. So that's what I think he's trying to reference it, because the BBC are known as being like paedophiles and paedophile enablers because of Jimmy Savile. But it's all these references to BBC paedophilia and Jimmy Savile. Why is he constantly making these references about paedophilia?
Hold on a second. This is something new that I'm learning, man. To us in America, BBC is like the CNN. It's like this mass media news channel. Why are you saying it's a bunch of pedophiles?
Well, because there's been so many people who've worked for BBC who've been caught out for being paedophiles, and then it's turned out that the BBC had helped cover that up. So the big one's Jimmy Savile, which I don't think you know an awful lot about. So he was just basically a TV presenter in 70s and 80s, one of the biggest children's TV presenters, coincidentally. But remember, this is just a TV presenter. They give him keys to the main mental hospital for full country, Broadmoor, where your criminally insane go, and he had keys to another 2 major hospitals. And then on top of that, he were Prince Charles's marriage counsellor, even though he'd never been married. He's an esteemed friend of Israel. He's a Maltese knight. So you look at all this stuff that he's got, it's kind of obvious he was the Pied Piper for the elite, and he was supplying them with children. And that's why he were able to operate and get the power that he'd got. And this comes back to what the BBC did. They well knew in BBC higher ups in 70s and 80s what he were up to, that he were abusing kids while he's making these TV shows. But they kept a lid on it because they've got to, because ultimately BBC's owned by establishment and they've got no choice after. But he's really connected to establishment with Jimmy Savile, and all this only come out what he'd actually done publicly after he died.
Listen, I want to ask, first I want to get Alan's opinion, and then Dave, if you can chime in. So this is, hold on, is Dave still, Alan still here? So this story is bizarre enough, right? Like trafficking is bizarre enough. It's evil, it's demonic. Possibly, children getting hurt, demonic, evil. Like, why eat children? Like, this is what I'm trying to ask. Do you think that it's, I can't even like fathom to think about this. Do you think it goes that far?
Yeah, I'd say if they're doing what we think they're doing down there, which is highly likely, yeah, 100%, without a doubt, because that's a big part of what they're doing, aren't they? Because obviously, I don't know how much we can say on here, but obviously with the adrenochrome and all that, the whole purpose of that is to get that blood and eat that flesh with that adrenochrome in that. So yeah, 100%, eating them's part of what they're doing. which potentially he might not have had children, but he might have seen the operation going on down there. You know, they're doing organ harvesting on these kids, making money off of organ harvesting and eating what's left. It's horrible to think, but it's something that's genuinely really happening. It's the whole world, isn't it? And that's basically what's powering the political system. It's how they've got control of them all, because that's their blackmail on them, aren't they? They say, you want this position, you've got to come with us here and do this, this and that. And they've got that then, just like with what happened in America with Epstein and all that. Like, it's all a box done in operation. So it's multi-leveled, isn't it? Obviously, ultimately, you've got the more spiritual side of it as well, if you're going to go down the route of loot and stuff. But the eating part of it's quite an important part of it.
Listen, unfortunately, I'm aware of all that, and I'm actually going to do a whole video, but it won't go on YouTube because I discovered some things that pertains to this this kind of same kind of stuff that was going on in deep Siberia in Russia. But this story it goes through exactly through the ritualistic part and why the ritual is done. So it's going to be crazy. But Alan, because you're the one that's been involved with this for the longest, you're the one that's sacrificed your life for this. Do you think it goes that far?
See, the thing is, to be able to get to the stage that I'm at, I try to turn my mind off to it. I literally try to investigate, think of all the reasons that it could possibly be, and hope for a nice outcome. But the thing is, I've considered everything now. Every time somebody suggests it could be this, it could be that, we've looked at it. So what we're left with is these horrific noises and this guy who posts stuff. I don't know. Is he telling us the truth? Is he painting us a picture? But whatever, the one thing I'm absolutely sure of is something horrible and totally evil happened on that, in those recordings.
Yeah, but even though there couldn't possibly be a next level, but this is like next level. So that's why I'm trying to get your take on, because again, you're the one that listened to the most of the recordings. You're the one that you know, because now we are walking into a whole new stratosphere of like what's going on. You understand? Like, again, it's all of this is evil, demonic. It's unfathomable to normal people like us. But when you start saying eating, you know, even people, man, that's a whole, to me, that's a whole other something like we can't even imagine in our worst nightmares, man. So that's why I'm trying to get your take on this, Alan, from all the recordings you heard and everything you know about this story so far. Is that a possibility, man?
Of course it's a possibility, especially after he's written about it. He does seem to be that arrogant, but at the same time, all we've heard is noises. Yeah, you can't say that the noise is this or isn't that. You can only have an opinion. And my opinion, I hope there's a better reason. Let's just leave it there.
You know, I'm thinking of like what everything that David has just said, and I'm thinking, and I'm kind of putting the pieces together. And for something like this to be such a big cover up, I think it's plausible that it goes to all the way to that extent, and God forbid what other extent that we can't even, you know, imagine, man. Would you agree, David?
Yeah, I do. Especially with what I've gone on to learn about what everything's gone on around the world. You know, like that pizza place in America. Do you know all that? Do you know all stuff to do with ex-president's wife? Do you know it is really genuinely happening? And so it's totally plausible it's happening there, especially because of recordings that Alan's picked up. Do you know, it's the exact type of sound you'd expect to be hearing from that type of operation, and that operation's happening everywhere.
So David, man, you're my brother, man. I got so much love for you. This is what I want to ask you right now. What kind of monster are we dealing with, man?
Oh, the worst, Matt. Just simple, the worst. To do that, you can't actually even be human, can you? You can't have a human soul left inside you to do that.
My question is, are these supposedly the same people that we know about, these dynasties, these families, these clans? Like,
Yeah,
do you
that's what.
think we're dealing with that monster, man?
Yeah, definitely. That sort of level, I think that's their spot for Wales. That's their place where
I
they
was
go
just
and
gonna
they do
ask
that.
I was just gonna ask you that again. Me and you have some crazy. Either you reading my mind, or me and you like on the same vibe or something. I was just going to ask you that because you are a very well read, very well informed person. Why is Wales symbolically important?
Well, I don't think it's specifically Wales because they'll have this a very similar operation going elsewhere. They'll probably have multiple of these dotted around country. There'll be probably one for every possible area. Maybe not. There'll be some that's smaller and bigger. Just coincidentally, Alan stumbled upon the operation that they've got, which covers that area where their VIPs can go and indulge in them activities.
Alan, when David said that when he was in Wales and he noticed, first of all, criminally minded people, second of all, when he said he noticed a lot of Freemasonry, why did you say you're not aware of that? Were you not aware of that? Like, because you lived there for many years, you haven't noticed that?
As far as Freemasonry is concerned, I didn't know a lot about it. Um, it's just not a subject I've studied. I did notice one thing. There was a new roundabout built in Ammanford, and it had a little sign on it that said something about money being donated by the Freemasons, but I don't know anything about it other than that. I think Dave knows a lot more about it than I do.
No, I
Just
just
to add to that, Naz, so basically, I cold call for a living. I door knock. I go to multiple houses in a day, and I've done it up and down country. And maybe it's a bit of a coincidence that the fact that I went with a Freemason door knocking who works for the same firm that made me through interactions that he were having with people, and then he give me tips. So it was certain names that the houses are called, and he goes, "That'll be a Freemason house because it's got that name and it's a name in Welsh." So I just started spotting them everywhere. So I started asking people in conversations, I'm like, "Oh, do you go down club?" Stuff like that. And you won't believe how many Freemasons were cropping up in that particular in Wales, in that rural part of Wales. It was like everyone's Freemason. Now, that could just be coincidental that I got took round with a Freemason, so it opened up that view to what's going on. It could be the same everywhere for all I know. I just specifically noticed it there though, that there was just so many Freemasons knocking about every house where I go. He's giving secret handshake to them, and they're being receptive for it. And we're getting jobs straight away because he's a Freemason, they're Freemasons, so they just listen to him and sort of did as they're told. And it's a good way for them to keep a grip of an area, isn't it? If everyone's down club, they've got to look after the brother more than anything else. They've got to swore an oath to protect their brother's interests. So it's if they've got a high, if they've got an area with a high percentage of people who are part of their clique, then again it makes another good reason to base the operation within that area. They've got the infrastructure, they've got a high percentage of people included in gang who they can rely on. Right, let's do it there. I lost you. Nas, you there, mate?
sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, mate.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as far as like all these different secret societies and everything, from everything that I have learned, and this is only my opinion, is the reason why all these different names started to appear, let's say, Illuminati or Freemasonry or whatever, like, it's obviously these different clubs exist, these secret societies, they exist. But I think a lot of the reason why it became why it came out to light is they are actually leaving us clues, right? First of all, to tell us that, look, we are doing what we're doing, but second of all, to kind of take us off path of what's really going on. And the reason I say this is because I don't think it's as important, let's say, that someone is a Freemason, because I think these hierarchies are some people that we do, like when you speak about Epstein or when you speak about this other guy, I think to me those are like the little fish in the pond, you know, whereas to the real players are names that we will never hear about, you know, people that they're somewhere in the Swiss mountains or wherever they are, you know.
Not to mention on video, but I've commented on another one of your videos where I've mentioned some of them names where you cannot find nothing about them on the internet now. They have been completely scrubbed. Now, going back 15 years ago, there were quite a bit about them and there were articles about them, but they are gone, mate. And I've searched for them to share them with you recently. I've even tried on Yandex and I can't find them, mate. They're gone.
Yeah, man. So what is this, Alan? What is that?
This is another. It was a fake identity, but I managed to link it to Simon Griffiths. Shall I just read it?
Please.
It says, "We're not negating that there is a drug ring operating out of College Street. That is a fact. Alan shows you the evidence and conviction of the gang leaders. We're not denying that there could have been an adult service on offer in College Street, or in a location that sound may have travelled through underground pipework or air vents or drainage systems. Totally possible that some sort of BDSM arrangement was going on between consenting adults. If there was an element of human trafficking, then why not look first at the Vietnamese gang in residence, ? Drugs, nail bar, takeaway, car hand wash are all very typical of these gangs. So why is Alan not harassing them for their side of the story? ? Makes more sense, surely? ? But no! ! He chooses to hound the owners of the shop, the owners who he had long-standing legal issues with, the people whom he's not recovered his significant financial losses from, the owners who wouldn't sell the property underneath his flat suit? ? The owners who didn't address his complaints of strange chemical smells to his satisfaction. Let's see if he allows this into the public arena for speculation and share, and others can make up their own mind."
So what is this?
Well, this is something that ultimately Simon Griffiths, or somebody that knows Simon Griffiths, published in the thick of our investigation.
Can I answer to this publication, to whatever this is?
Of course you can.
You assholes, because there are countless hours of evidence of freaking noises, bro. That's why, man. That's why all this shit that you're writing over here makes no freaking sense, man. Because if there were no screams, if there were no noises, now you would be talking, oh, this guy is making shit up. Obviously, he's not making shit up, man. Excuse me, fellas, for getting a little aggressive and shit, man. This is ridiculous right here. I want to ask both of you, man, because Simon so far is a person that's connected to this, but yet there was also that lady. Remember that we spoke about that time?
I presume we're talking about the shop owner, Jane John, perhaps?
Well, remember we had a recording of her being on the phone?
Yeah. Oh, no, sorry, that's a different lady. Yeah, okay. That's actually someone who picked up Simon's phone. I don't actually know who it is. There's no way I could know. I've got suspicions, but that's about it.
You believe that it's just somebody that picked up his phone?
Well, I made the phone call. It was definitely to Simon's house, to Simon's mobile. I was talking to Simon a couple of times. It was more than that. And then when I phoned him back, she was on the phone. So I've no idea who it is, really.
David, you think it's just some lady that picked up his phone?
I think it's obviously some bird who's been with him at time. For all we know, he could have just filled her head full of crap and told her story that Alan's hounding him and making out like he's involved in something which he ain't, and that's why she give the reaction that she give. I won't go as far to say that she's connected to what's going on there. I just say it's more his lady friend who is probably blagged.
Yeah,
in
hold
her.
on a second. But if you guys remember, she talked about grooming children and all of that.
Oh no, so you're talking about, we're getting confused. So you're talking about a woman who did an investigation in that area because unfortunately one of her family members got abused.
Prove to me that you are alive.
And she was trying to expose the paedophiles who abused her children. So that's how she got into that conversation with Simon, because coincidentally at the same time there was another investigation going on in Ammanford about a paedophile ring.
Okay, so this was the lady. So then I got a little confused. So this was the lady that did. So the reason I'm asking is, have you guys heard anything from that lady as of lately?
I've not heard anything from her. It was the fact it's only because I found her. I think that I ever heard from her at all. And I'm not. I don't know anything else. Never spoken to her to my knowledge.
I'm just trying to get a sense of, like, it would be good to see if these people are okay, if these people are, you know, safe.
Yeah,
like,
so Alan, how did you get onto that woman then? How did you end up getting in contact with her? And how long after you getting in contact with her, sorry, how long before you got in contact with her had she had this conversation with Simon?
excellent question.
Sorry, mate. I misunderstood. I thought we were still talking about the woman that I found on Simon's phone. We're talking about Nadine, aren't we?
Yeah.
How did I first meet Nadine? I first met Nadine in Discord. So a video about this had gone viral. It had millions of views. She was one of the people that contacted us, and she was asking questions. She was trying to find out if the people that I've been reporting on were involved in the case that she was looking at. She was independent to me. She has phoned Simon a few times to try to get information out of him. She's also phoned other people, and she sent me some of those recordings. That's how I got to know her.
And are you still in contact with her?
Yeah.
Last time I spoke to her must have been it's been a while, 12 months, something like that.
Okay, so you're not sure if she's okay, if she's safe or anything like that.
I couldn't say 100%.
Do you know if she got anywhere with her investigation?
No, I don't actually. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. That would be worth looking at, wouldn't it?
Yeah. What is this picture on the screen right now?
Okay, that's a guy called Craig Agaius. Now, there's a new story that goes with Craig Agaius and a lady called Sarah Pope. They were caught at a local supermarket in possession of, let's get this right, 2 sawn-off shotguns, ammunition. The weapons were capable of being fired, and a magazine clip for an AK-47. Now, the interesting thing is the noises that were recorded of gunshots were shotguns, and they've been said to be an AK-47.
Now, what are the gun laws in the UK? Is it like, do you need a license to go buy one? Like, what's the gun law?
Yeah, it's super strict, really strict, especially for all you can really get is shotguns and bolt action rifles. Theoretically, you can get handguns and you can get assault rifles, but it's so unbelievably hard to get them. But they might as well just be totally illegal. But it ain't that hard to get a shotgun license or a rifle license. But you've obviously got to have no criminal record whatsoever. You can't have like any sort of thing, anything to do with like mental health issues. You can't even have. So, for instance, if I lived with my brother who had a criminal record, I won't get a gun license just off the back that there was someone living there with a criminal record. So it's strict. But guns are available here, mate. Do you know, it's not like they're impossible to get. If you're not right people, you get a gun, no problem whatsoever, straight away. There's plenty of them about illegally.
Obviously.
Just at level yous have got them in America where everyone's walking around with them.
So what's the update on this fella right here, man? After that story, like, did he go to jail? Like, what happened with him?
Yeah, he went to prison. I don't know much about him since then, but I do know one thing. He got out of prison, and the last I heard is the police were looking for him again. but I don't know if it's related or not.
Okay, that's very interesting, man. It will be interesting to see,
Tell
like,
you what would be worth talking about. So, off at back of them doing that work on house, do you know, we noticed stuff being cleared away and these bricks and stuff like that. A lot of that happened off at back of Alan managed to use a beeping sound in there as a sonar. Do you want to talk about that, Alan?
Yeah, can do if you want. It come across as a total. It was an accident more than anything. What was happening was when we had recordings. Now, somebody, it might actually have been Dave, I'm not sure, brought some recordings in and we started listening to them and we looked them on the screen. So I've opened it up like an oscilloscope, if you know what, so you can look at the waveform. And I could hear what sounded like a fire alarm going off. You know, the when the battery goes down, beep, beep, beep. But when I looked at it on a scope, you could see that there were two waves. There was the initial wave of the noise and a smaller wave of the echo. Now, I got people to move these around, yeah, because there was one at the top, one at the bottom. And by the delay, I worked out where I thought there was an entrance. Now, when I released that on YouTube, one of the owners of the shop phoned me up. I probably got the conversation somewhere, and asked me specifically where it was. And I told him. And he went into quite great depth. It was as if he was asking me to make sure that I actually did know where the tunnel was. Next thing that happened was interesting. The entire area that I was referring to got cleared. It was totally, utterly overgrown. Suddenly got cleared. And then a larger area got cleared, and at the same time, it was about the same time as the bricks were put in that wall. And I think perhaps they moved out of that one particular area.
And it's funny that phone call because it comes across that he's fact finding, that he's fishing for information. It don't come across as sort of like he's just genuinely concerned. It's just like he's wanting to know exactly what Alan knows.
Yeah, that's about right. I don't know if I've got it handy or not.
Huh.
And that guy I was talking about now, that's the actual owner of the building of Sophia Nails. He owns the building.
Huh. That's very interesting, man. So, Alan, this picture on the screen, is that another post that you came across?
So it's just Simon's posted loads of stuff, and that's just one that I noticed. It reads, "Stop asking me what I do for fun, illegal shit, now leave me alone." There were a lot of people on the back of the videos when it went viral contacting Simon, asking him, like, for argument's sake, why he wrote I eat children, or I do this, why did you do that, why have you said something that's clearly untrue? And that was just one of the posts he posted along the way.
Was this on Facebook?
I think it was Facebook. Is it Yeah, it's a Facebook post.
It's so crazy to think, man, that Facebook, like, for the past, I don't know how many years, just been shadow bamming everyone that's trying to tell the truth, but yet, like, all of these pedos are on there, and they're unbelievable, man. What is this picture right here, Alan?
Okay, Dave will probably remember that. Dave, do you remember the picture?
Yeah, I remember it, yeah.
Okay, it's down in the basement wall, right? So you go down into my house, you go down into the basement. That's the far wall. It's the back of the nail bar and the basement of my house. Now, we noticed all loose debris was coming out of there. So I cleared it out with my hands. I dug out the back behind that bit with a spoon and a fork. And I got an old vacuum cleaner and put the hose down there. And I could clear 1.5 meters down into that wall. So somewhere behind that wall, there's a shaft. Anyway, that's where they used to put the microphones. So that's where the recordings come from.
Oh my God, man. To me, this is like hair-raising stuff. Because, you know,
that's where light were coming out as well, wasn't it?
No. Well, yes, it was in that area, but it was the other wall on the left-hand side.
Right, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean now.
How old is this building, man?
I don't actually know. Must be 1900s, I guess.
This is so hair-raising because, you know, as like as we're covering this story, a lot of the stuff that you guys talk about, I try to imagine, and then when we get a picture to something, it's hair raising, man. So what is this? Alan Downing trying to bring a Glock handgun into the UK.
This is an Ammanfor man. He tried to import a Glock 26 into the UK. The only interesting thing about it is this: in his initial story that he told the police, he said that he was buying it on behalf of somebody called David. Then he withdrew, and made a different defense. It was for himself or whatever. But initially, he said it was for David, and that links into the recording that we've got where somebody's calling for David. So that's the connection. You hear David's name mentioned in the recordings over and over again.
Yeah, we did hear it, man.
The important thing about this is they lost the, well, if you consider that those two shotguns and that AK clip was them losing the weapons, then that could be a weapon that was being brought in to replace them.
The only problem I have with that, me personally, that particular connection, is are they really going to use someone like that to supply them with guns? When for people who are organising this, guns is an easy access. So, me personally, that particular one, I personally think that's just a bit of a coincidence. Me personally, and that's just me being as honest as I can with information that we're presenting. Would they really use someone like that? Do you know, he's clearly a drug addict. Do you know what I mean? And you know what it's like with drug addicts. If they're rattling, do you know, they'll sing like a canary because they just want that fix. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Dave. But there were guns. The guns have been recorded down there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not questioning that, mate. No.
But what I'm saying is, guns have been been heard down there. You've heard Simon in one of them saying that it's not guns, it's fireworks. Yeah, he's obviously a drug addict. He seems to be into guns.
Yeah, there's like two sides to this, because on one side, you know, in order to get someone to do some sort of work like this, you do have to go to the bottom of society, right? And then on the other hand, I do agree with David, like, you know, having somebody that's a dope fiend or whatever, you know, it's tricky, man. What is this picture right here? Is that where you used to put the recorder at?
Yeah, before we start on that one, I'm not saying that there's a connection there apart from what I've said, that there could be a connection there. What we're trying to do is get an investigation. So if we present everything that we know, someone competent could investigate it. Right, this is the famous wall where David put his microphone. Do you remember it, Dave?
Yeah, I remember this. Definitely remember this one.
Now, where that lead pipe is, I can't find the video, which is a shame because I wanted to play it to you. Just about where the arrow is there, there was a hole, and if you call it just right, you could see bright white light coming from it. Now, I say that the light was much, much stronger than if it was coming through a crack or something. Dave's got a similar view, I think.
Yeah, so when I did that video where you can see that light source coming out, it's sort of coming out from underneath the armored cable. That's why you've got to catch it just right, because it's sort of coming up through the wall, and it's where the armored cable comes down that's allowing that light source to come out. I did that video at about 6-7 o'clock, so there were no direct light. It was light, but there were no direct sunlight anywhere near that backup property because of how sun had moved across the sky. So I sort of debunked the fact that it could just be light coming from the outside.
So why is that light important? Do you think that they kept on that light there all the time, or just that light is proof that, you know,
there's some underneath there? It just seems like that light source were coming from somewhere underneath ground, where it shouldn't be coming. You shouldn't have a light source there. Remember, this is a cellar. It's underground.
Right. That's crazy. Let's see this video.
The helicopter coming from his direction. I know what the helicopter looks like.
Oh, so you're saying he's reaching for a gun? Is that what you're saying?
No, not at all. Not for 1 minute. Now, what happened is I posted a video, And in it, and it's really strange. Dave might remember it, he might not. There was a sound there that I can only presume was a centrifugal fan of some sort, but it sounded like a helicopter because you could hear it getting louder as it come. As it went past, it faded away. And when I put it up on YouTube, Simon released this video. You can see he's driving at speed. He's not holding onto the steering wheel. He's looking up. And that's it. You might want to play it again.
But he's actually saying, "I know what a helicopter looks like."
Yeah, but he's also talking about Prince Charles. I just found it all odd.
Wait, what? Let's play it again, man.
And I got Prince Charles flying over me.
Oh.
There's a helicopter coming from his direction. I know what the helicopter looks like.
But why did you highlight watch his hands?
Oh, just because they leave the steering wheel. He's not in control of that car at all. He's looking upwards. He's traveling at speed. There are children around. That was it.
But it seems funny. Why would he mention Prince Charles's helicopter? Because it's not as if that's something that's public knowledge that he flies around in an helicopter, or even what it'd look like. And it's not as if Prince Charles should be making regular visits to that part of the world. I know it probably at the time he was Prince of Wales, but it probably only went there once every couple of years, isn't it? So how would you be able to identify his helicopter straight off at bat like that?
I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but if I was looking at a helicopter from underneath, I couldn't tell you what it looked like. I wouldn't know one helicopter from another.
And understandably, they're going to be, when Prince Charles is flying around in an helicopter, it's not going to be distinctive. It's not as if it's going to have emblem on it, is it? For obvious security reasons, it's just going to look like any other helicopter that's regular in the sky.
So what are your thoughts? Why is he mentioning Prince Charles?
I just found it odd. I just thought that I've mentioned this helicopter in the recording, and he suddenly linked it to Prince Charles, and it just doesn't make any sense, does it?
David, why do you think he's mentioning Prince Charles?
I don't know. It's strange, especially off of the back that video you've just looked at then were made off of the back of Alan mentioning an helicopter. It's almost like a taunt, isn't it?
You know what's weird to me, right? Like, who's recording him, man?
Yeah, that's a good point.
We've never talked about that one, have we?
No, it's a good point.
Because it's not a dash cam.
It must be someone sat in passenger seat, innit? If you look at angle at camera, it's got to be someone sat outside of him.
Yeah. Huh.
It looks to me like it's somebody in the back seat.
Back seat, right.
Yeah, I can't see him set his own camera up. It's an interesting point, that.
Yeah. It's crazy. I wonder, it would be good if you guys have VIN numbers on cars.
Yeah, they're not easy to spot though on our cars.
Yeah. That would be good if we could spot that, man. So what do we have next?
Okay, that's the back garden of the house before Gareth made his phone call. You can see clearly it's overgrown.
Let's try to play it again. Yeah, that's very overgrown, man.
And that's what it looked like after we were talking about the tunnel. They cleared it all back. And you see where the arrow is now? That bit there? That's where that picture of the bricks was.
Yeah.
So the guy took it from here. Alex took it from here, and of this bit here, and you can see there the level of that. That's actually a path, and the tunnel's about there, or the hole's about there.
So I'm trying to get a sense, right? That spot where the bricks, the new bricks now are. What was before that? Was it just a hole? Like, was it exposed?
Nobody knew. Prior to that, it was, you saw it in the video, it was completely overgrown. You couldn't see that bit.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit confused, Alan. That picture, them bricks, is that your house or is that the vacant house next door?
No, that's the vacant house next door.
With the bricks, yeah, that's not actually your house. So the spray painting were on your house, but the bricks were on the replaced bricks were on the house next door. Which,
Yeah, you got it, man.
yeah.
So where would the mining tunnel be if we're looking at this image right here? Like, is it directly underneath like this backyard?
I have no idea where there is a mining tunnel. We did look. The closest colliery is Bettis Colliery, which is about maybe a mile away. I can't find any records at all of the mines going in this area. There was somebody that contacted me that said there was an old air shaft from the mines coming up close to my house, but they didn't get back in touch and I never did find it. And that's a picture for Dave. That's just to show you where the bricks are.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you about this, Alan. So when you lived there, have you ever noticed this exact spot?
Well, no, it was totally overgrown. It's been overgrown for years.
So why would they clear it out? Like, in order to do the brick job, like why would they clear it out all of a sudden?
I think it was what we said is we found a tunnel, and we said it was about, if you can see it, about there in that area where the tunnel come out. They walked across that bit, and then I think they went through that bit. When we said that, and after Gareth's phone call, it all got cleared. After it got cleared, that bit got bricked back in, or I presume it did. I don't actually know that.
You know what I want to say to both of you is what I'm thinking is like, what's most mind-blowing to me about this whole story is that not a single person, I'm talking from the authorities, like the UK, what's the population? Like 56 million or 80 million, something like that.
70 million now.
70 million. So what's blowing my mind is, and this story has been like everywhere, like what's most crazy to me is that no one wants to touch this story. Like, what is that telling us? I'm talking like from the authorities. Like, is there not one single good person in it? Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, how?
Yeah.
Like, no one wants to touch this, man. What does that tell us?
It's like we've mentioned before. For all we know, there's been good people who've brought this up, but it all comes back to that they've got it hierarchically set up. So for them to get green lit on an investigation, they've got to go there higher up, and it's that small clique of higher ups that put a stop to it.
But not even independently somebody wants to. You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, it's like I've mentioned before. So when this first come out, I'll be honest with you, I never planned to go here on my own. I only went on my own because I had no other choice, because I couldn't get anyone else to come with me. And what I initially did was, especially because at a period, I got in touch with people who were like investigators, you know, like freedom movement investigators, with a lack of better word to say. Mate, as soon as I explained this to them, mate, not one of them would want to know. The only sort of feedback I'd ever get would be a bit like, oh, well, we are getting involved on that. They were only wanting to report after the event. So once you know what's gone on there, come back to us and we might talk about it then. But nobody would touch it. And then I even started looking at paranormal investigators, just really for someone to come with me, as a bit of a cover story for me. But anyone who had any sort of big famous ones, mate, they didn't want to know.
I'm just like thinking like in a movie right now, right? Let's say there's, because I'm pretty sure that some sort of like detective or like someone has seen this, right? Someone that's actually a good person, and like no one is touching this. So it's like, and now the name Prince Charles, whatever, like, so I'm going back to what I've said previously, is like we might be dealing with the actual monster that, you know, that we all talk about like for all these years and stuff. Like, this is the higher ups. To me, that's what it seems like, man.
Yeah, no, I've said that from the beginning. Well, once we got into about botched the investigation one, everything that's come out about it, it's the only logical conclusion you can come to. But you have stumbled upon a major operation that's used by very powerful people.
Very powerful. Exactly, man. Alan, how does that make you feel, man?
I'm just exhausted trying to get the message over, to find, like you say, good people. I mean, I've done all sorts. There's websites, there's been videos, there's been documentaries. I've even gone as far as making it onto USB sticks, sending it to everybody you could think would help. So, members of parliament, police, the NCA.
What's the equivalent of like an FBI in the UK?
NCA.
NCA.
Oh yeah, I think it's the National Crime Agency, NCA.
This is like
nothing about
this is crazy.
somebody's fub.
Prove to me that you are alive.